Caring Review, print speaking to the blind, celebrating 40 years of audio newspaper production. Welcome to this week's edition of the Glasgow Times Podcast, recorded at the Bishop Briggs Media Centre by our amazing volunteers. You can get in touch with us via Facebook, Twitter or Instagram using @QNReview. That is @CUEANDREVIEW. You can also contact us directly by emailing information@QNreview.com. That is INFORMATION@CUEANDREVIEW.com, or by calling 0141 772 3976. That's 0141 772 3976.
From the Glasgow Times, Saturday the 15th of June, from the news section. Jewellers opens its new store at iconic city spot. This article is unattributed. A luxury jeweller has officially opened its new multi-floor flagship store in an iconic Glasgow building. Lang's opened its new showroom in Buchanan Street, the city's Style Mile, on Thursday. The store, which is located in the iconic B-listed building, Rowan House, has undergone a full transformation following a £5 million investment from the family jeweller. The retailer says the new fully furnished showroom will bring an elevated luxury retail experience to the city. The ground floor of the store is dedicated to plush watch brands including Rolex, Patek Philippe and Tag Heuer, along with Lang's pre-owned range. Meanwhile, the first floor is home to Lang's extensive jewellery offerings. It also features an intimate space created for exclusive events, product showcases and private client meetings. The top floor of the new showroom is home to the firm's HQ and includes a newly opened service centre accommodating 20 skilled watchmakers, technicians, polishers and quality control technicians. There is also a Rolex authorised service centre in the new store. As part of transforming the building, Lang said they have focused on restoring it to its former glory, retaining original features such as the full height feature window and the marble facade, which sit alongside new modern additions. It comes after the jeweller's former showroom in Argyll Arcade in the city centre closed down recently to allow the big move. The previous store in the city's arcade area was home to Lang's for over 50 years. All the staff who worked there have since moved to the company's new location. On top of that, 4 new jobs have been created through the move. Joe Walsh, CEO of Lang's, said, "Today represents a momentous occasion for Lang's, as a family as well as a business. We are beyond proud to open our new flagship store in the heart of the city where our journey began. This opening marks the next significant step on that journey as we ensure top quality service and client experiences are delivered throughout all our UK locations. We are determined to play our part in revitalising the High Street through our continued commitment to offering exceptional quality and choice, as well as protecting and enhancing the skills, craftsmanship and expertise that come with working in an extraordinary industry. We look forward to welcoming existing and new clients through our doors." And that article was unattributed. From the Glasgow Times, Saturday the 15th of June, from the news section. Man kicked off at cops taking him to hospital. This article is unattributed. A man kicked off at officers transporting him to hospital. Police were called to Bridge Street around 9 p.m. on April the 3rd, 2022 after an assault took place. The victim, David Martin, accepted cops' help to take him to the hospital. However, in the car, he became aggressive, stating F ****ing Fenian B ****DS F ****ing Tarriers. They asked him to stop, but he continued, "You are a F *****ing Fenian P ***** K. The 63-year-old was arrested and taken to the police station. There, he was led out of the vehicle and handcuffs were applied. He tried to kick one officer, so fast straps were applied and he was taken to custody. It was then determined he needed medical attention, so he was driven to Queen Elizabeth University Hospital. In the waiting area, Martin, of Govan Hill, continued making sectarian and racist remarks. He said, "You take it right up the rectum, altar boy. They are all paedophiles." He also stated, "Give me all the charges. Get to F *******. I have done 18 years in Berlin. Do you think I give a F ******? The judges are all Fenians as well." He continued, "This is Nicola Sturgeon, Scotland. I would get seen quicker if I was one of these F ****** immigrants." He kept being aggressive and was taken back to the station where he was cautioned and charged. Martin appeared at Glasgow Sheriff Court last week after he pleaded guilty to assaulting the officers, behaving aggressively and making offensive remarks. His lawyer said, "Drinking is still an issue." Sheriff Vincent Lunny replied, "I'm thinking of imposing a fine." The solicitor stated, "That might stop him from spending money on things that cause him issues." Martin was sentenced to 2 years of supervision, which will be reviewed in 6 months, and fined £200. And the article was unattributed. From the Glasgow Times, Saturday the 15th of June, from the news section. Murder bid suspect stole £26,000 rental car. Report by Esder Tarnall. A man was sent to prison after he stole a rental car from a Glasgow shop. Mark Nielsen booked a car for hire online and went to Henry's Skoda garage to pick it up on May the 5th, 2023. There, he spoke to a staff member and all documentation was prepared. The 40-year-old secured an online payment of £500 and took the keys and the car. On May 9, workers at the Kyle Street auto shop received a call stating that the vehicle was in a garage. They were told a man paid cash to repair some damage to it. Then, an employee saw an email stating that the car was abandoned and sent to another garage. It was then taken to the National Vehicle Recovery Yard. Nielsen then called the rental place and asked for an extension on the car hire, but it was rejected. He asked once more, but was again refused because another person had booked the car. Staff members emailed the Wishaw residents telling him the car was not returned. He said he would bring it back, but he did not. Police were called. The value of the vehicle was determined to be £26,620. Nielsen appeared at Glasgow Sheriff Court after he pleaded guilty to stealing a car. At the hearing, Sheriff Vincent Lunny said, "I see that there is an explanation given which somewhat fits with the narrative, but he did not report it." Nielsen's lawyer replied, "The lesson here is that being involved with certain associates could lead to this outcome. He understands you are considering a custodial sentence." It was revealed that he has an outstanding matter at the High Court in Glasgow. The sheriff asked, "What is he charged with at the High Court?" The solicitor replied, "Attempted murder." Sheriff Lunny stated, "In all likelihood he will get a custodial sentence for that. And this is the theft of a car he is covering up. There is no point in coming back in July or August, and I cannot give him a community-based sentence." The lawyer said, "It is his associates that led him here. He needs to move on from this association and not get involved. It is not outright theft. You can see that it's a position he placed himself in and the company he kept. He acted according to his peer group." Sheriff Lunny addressed Nielsen, "I am only allowed to give you a custodial sentence if there is nothing else available. However, in this case, there is nothing else available." He was sent to prison for 18 months. And the article was written by Esder Tarnall. From the Glasgow Times, Saturday the 15th of June, from the news section, perv caught talking to decoy who he thought was aged 13. Report by Connor Gordon. A pervert caught chatting sexually to a girl he believed was 13 years old said he was in love with her. Adam Smith, 55, was instead talking to an adult decoy from his home in Denniston on February the 20th, 2023. The decoy, named Carly Mae Murphy, received a friend request on Facebook from Smith, who then messaged her. The decoy told Smith that she was 13 and the conversation continued on WhatsApp. Prosecutor Lauren Donnelly told Glasgow Sheriff Court he repeatedly asked her to be his girlfriend. He requested pictures of her in her pyjamas and complimented her looks while also stating he was in love with her. The pair exchanged texts, audio and video calls over the next 6 days. The decoy did not show her appearance during the video calls. Smith stated during the calls, "I'd like to cuddle and kiss you. Anything you want to know about kissing, ask me. I know you're still a virgin." The decoy then contacted vigilante group Protecting Kids Scotland, who then attended Smith's home. He was shown a picture of his Facebook account and he confirmed his identity. Smith said, "I have been talking to her, but I never touched her." Police attended and arrested Smith, who told officers, "I was just messaging her. I didn't think I was doing anything wrong. I know I'm gonna be charged." Smith pleaded guilty yesterday to attempting to communicate indecently with a child. Sentence was deferred pending background reports until next month by Sheriff Louise Arrow KC. Smith, now of Glasgow City Centre, was put on the sex offenders register and granted bail meantime, and that article was unattributed. From the Glasgow Times, Saturday the 15th of June, from the news section, thug jailed for brutal robbery. This article is an exclusive by Connor Gordon. A thug involved in an armed robbery where a shopkeeper had a knife put to his throat has been jailed for 32 months. Brian Watt, 33, and an accomplice pounced on Conor Gallagher at Scotland in Glasgow's Bud Hill on March 31st. The other individual put the blade near Mr. Gallagher's neck and said, "Open the till or I will slash your throat." The two attackers made off with £668 before Watt attempted to rob a second convenience store that day. This time, Watt made off empty-handed. He pleaded guilty at Glasgow Sheriff Court to a charge of assault and robbery, as well as an attempted robbery. The court heard Watt and the other man attended the Scotland, with his accomplice jumping over the counter. Mr. Gallagher attempted to leave the premises, but was blocked off by Watt, who pushed him. The unknown man dragged Mr. Gallagher by his fleece and held a knife to his neck, stating, "Open the till or I will slash your throat." A total of £668 was removed from the till and Watt put the cash in his trouser pocket. Watt then also pulled out a blade and said, be quiet, the police are going to come." Mr. Gallagher later screamed to colleagues that he had been robbed. Watt had also tried to rob another convenience store that day in the city's Loch End. He entered the store while intoxicated, purchased a chocolate bar and left. Employees noticed Watt returned to the store in the CCTV wearing the same clothes and a face cover while in possession of a knife. Prosecutor Laura Sangre said, "He climbed over the counter to steal items and shouted, 'Just give me what I want.' The panic alarm was pressed and the police attended. Watt was later identified by CCTV and he was arrested. Jim McParland, defending, told the court the dad of 3 lost his job as a delivery man in March this year. The lawyer said, "This caused marital difficulties through financial pressures and his partner was arguing with him at the time. He left the family home and began to engage with alcohol again. It was revealed that Watt has a previous conviction for possessing knives. Sheriff Daniel Kelly told Watt the offences were serious matters and a custodial sentence was appropriate. And that article was an exclusive by Connor Gordon. From the Glasgow Times, Saturday the 15th of June, from the news section. Tributes are paid to City restaurant founder. Report by Ben Waddell. Tributes have been paid to the founder of a Glasgow restaurant after he sadly died. We reported yesterday in the Glasgow Times that Chinatown Restaurant Glasgow, which is located on New City Road in the city's Cowcaddens area, shared the sad news recently. In a social media post, the venue said the founder of the eatery, Mr. Michael Wu, had passed away. Following the devastating news, punters of the eatery have paid a tribute to the lovely man. One said, "Sad news. Our thoughts are with his friends and family." A second added, "So sorry to hear this sad news. Mr. Wu was always the face of Chinatown. He was such a lovely man. Our thoughts are with you and his family." Another said, "Condolences to the family of Mr. Wu. Amazing contribution to the Glasgow restaurant scene." While a fourth added, "He was a lovely man. May he rest in peace." A fifth said, "Sorry for your loss. It's such a great restaurant. Rest in peace, Mr. Wu." Michael started the restaurant back in the 1980s before retiring in 2016. After that, he remained a friend and customer of the eatery. Announcing the sad news previously, the venue said, "Not a typical message we post on Facebook, but we would like to share the sad news of the passing of Mr. Michael Wu, founder of Glasgow Chinatown Restaurant, and send our condolences to his family." Michael started the restaurant in the 80s before retiring in 2016. He since remained a friend and customer of this restaurant up until his passing after battling with illness. Michael's efforts over the years also made this restaurant a pseudo hub for the local Chinese community. He will be fondly missed and remembered. May he rest in peace. And that article was by Ben Waddell.
Evening Times, 14 June. Opinion. Douglas Ross tries to dodge blame with astonishing tale, says Ian McConnell. It should, of course, not be at all surprising by now to hear a senior Conservative dodge responsibility for the UK's economic woe and cost of living crisis. Nevertheless, every time they do, it evokes a feeling of incredulity. So why is that? Firstly, for all that we have seen it so many times before, the brass neck of the Tories in claiming they have nothing to do with causing the economic misery being endured by millions of households somehow still never fails to shock, at least a little bit. And then there's the astonishment arising from just how far the Tories' version of events, albeit a very familiar one, is from reality. Douglas Ross, the leader of the Scottish Conservatives until the general election, was in top Tory form on Tuesday night when the leaders of 5 of Scotland's political parties went head-to-head in a special live BBC debate. An audience member asked, "How will your party reduce the cost of living as the majority of working-class families are constantly struggling in the present climate?" John Swinney, Scottish First Minister, highlighted his administration's policies of paying for the university tuition fees of people living in Scotland, free prescriptions, and the Scottish child payment, which has risen to £26 a week for eligible children. Mr. Swinney declared the Scottish child payment is keeping 100,000 children out of poverty within Scotland. He also flagged help for some households with school meals. It was a fair enough answer with some substance. Mr. Swinney went on to warn of the threat posed by the potential for further spending cuts at Westminster following the election. There was a difference of opinion with Scottish Labour leader Anna Sarwar, on what Mr Sarwar's party would do on public spending if it were to win the general election. But whatever the case on this front, Mr Swinney is right to highlight the fact that public spending decisions taken at Westminster have a major bearing on Scotland. Mr Sarwar, for his part, talked about Tory economic carnage. That seems like a fair enough description of the situation. The Scottish Labour leader also declared, "We saw the consequences of Tory austerity on this country and how it devastated local budgets." This also seemed like a sensible point. Mr Sarwar's declaration that "we also saw the consequences of austerity imposed by John Swinney when he was Finance Secretary" was more difficult to fathom. More than that, it looked like a fairly unimpressive attempt at political point scoring. The Scottish budget has been hammered by the Conservatives' failure to deliver decent economic growth, a situation exacerbated by their hard Brexit and failed austerity. The Tory Brexit has, by dampening growth and therefore tax revenues so greatly, blown a hole in the funding available to spend on devolved public services in Scotland. It has also, of course, cost other parts of the UK dearly in this way. Former Scottish First Minister Humza Yousaf calculated the amount of devolved public spending of which Scotland was deprived in 2023 as a direct result of Brexit at £1.6 billion when he made a speech in March. The National Institute of Economic and Social Research think tank put the figure at £1.2 billion. What is clear, whatever figure you take, is that the effect has been huge. And this brings us nicely back to Mr Ross and his seeming reluctance to accept any blame at all for the damage done to the UK economy and living standards by the Tories' policy making, including, but certainly not limited to, Brexit. We have, of course, also had their austerity and much other ill-judged economic policy making. So what did Mr Ross have to say in response to the very pertinent question from the audience member during the debate on Tuesday night? He declared, "It is a hugely important issue. We have gone through global events that have been a real strain on our economy, and it's had a huge impact on people in this room and people across the country. If we look at the COVID pandemic and the war in Ukraine, there has been a massive shock to not only our domestic economy, but economies across the globe, and the government at a UK level have tried to provide some universal support and some targeted support." He went on to highlight Tory national insurance cuts, which at least are a matter of fact. What is not true is that the UK's economic woes have somehow all been the result of global events. Mr Ross did not, in his response to the question, mention Brexit, the devastating impact of which has been highlighted by many experts as well as by business leaders. It was a UK government decision, specifically by the Tories, to have a hard Brexit and leave the European single market and customs union, losing the huge twin benefits of free movement of people between the country and the European Economic Area, and frictionless trade with our biggest trading partner. While many countries have had inflation problems, the woe on this front in the UK has been particularly bad, and it is plain that the UK's peculiar inflation troubles have stemmed in large part from the aforementioned hard Brexit. Furthermore, Mr Ross did not address the impact of the Tories' failed austerity policies on the economy, households and businesses. Lorna Slater, co-leader of the Scottish Greens, noted quite rightly that working people have borne the brunt of cuts. To try to claim all the grimness that has unfolded in a UK economic context has come from global events is quite something. It is obviously the party line we heard from Mr. Ross, and a very familiar one at that. However, we can surely still be forgiven for feeling incredulity on being exposed once again to the Tories' ridiculous interpretation of events, even if it is for the umpteenth time, says Ian McConnell, business editor. Evening Times, June 14. Opinion. Westminster failing Tartan Army with extortionate paywalls for qualifiers. Report by Andrew Learmonth. Westminster has failed the Tartan Army by ensuring Scotland's games remain behind extortionate paywalls, the SNP has said. The party's deputy leader, Keith Brown, blamed the UK government for failing to include qualifiers for major international tournaments on the crown jewels of sporting events that, by law, must be broadcast live on free-to-air television. Currently, UEFA holds the rights to these matches, and they are often sold as a block to the highest bidder. Scotland's successful Euro campaign was aired by Viaplay. However, England and Wales both had their matches screened on terrestrial TV. Broadcasting policy is reserved to Westminster. Mr. Brown said, ensuring games remain behind extortionate paywalls, it's crystal clear that Westminster has failed Scotland fans. The Scotland national team is the pride of the nation, and this is an incredible time for our country. We are all looking forward to watching them win the Euros later next month. The whole country will be able to enjoy Steve Clarke and his players taking to the field at Euro 24 this summer, with every game on free-to-air TV. But the Tartan Army should not just get to watch these games for free, just like in England and Wales. All of our national team games, including qualifiers, should be free to view. He said his party wants to see free access to games into the future, with the next generation of John McGinns and Erin Cuthberts able to watch their heroes regardless of their household income. Mr. Brown said that SNP MPs have campaigned tirelessly for this, but have been met with complete disinterest from Westminster. There were similar calls from the Scottish Greens. MSP Gillian Mackay said, far too many supporters were priced out of watching Scotland's qualifiers. And she continued, young people should be able to watch, look up to, and feel inspired by our players. But unfortunately, far too many were priced out of watching the qualifying stages by costly TV subscriptions and paywalls. With our team going from strength to strength, it's more important than ever that people have the opportunity to watch our progress and build our beautiful game. It's an open goal and will be a key manifesto call for us. Appearing before Holyrood's Health, Social Care and Sport Committee last year, the SFA's Chief Executive Ian Maxwell said that terrestrial broadcasters were unwilling to pay the right price for Scotland's matches. And he continued, anyone can bid for our national team rights. It is centralised through UEFA. It's open for anyone to bid for them. Ultimately, it comes down to value. It comes down to finance. We receive money from the UEFA centralised deal. We then use that money to go and do the good work we do across the country. As long as those financial terms are met, anyone could show our games. I would love our games to be free to air. But it ultimately comes down to the free-to-air broadcasters and whether or not they can commit the required finance. In April, former First Minister Humza Yousaf promised to launch a consultation to help progress the campaign to ensure Scotland international qualifying matches are on terrestrial TV. However, that consultation has not yet gone live. Meanwhile, there was consensus from Scotland's political leaders ahead of tonight's match in Munich. First Minister John Swinney will be in Munich and will meet with Bavarian ministers. He will also attend the official opening of the UEFA fan zone and attend the match. Speaking at the start of First Minister's questions in Holyrood on Thursday, the SNP leader said, "It is great to see Scotland back in Europe, where we rightly belong. As First Minister, I want to wish Steve Clarke's team the best of luck and wish the huge numbers of Scotland's supporters making the journey a safe and memorable trip. I know the Tartan Army will be an absolute credit to Scotland. I know the team will be a credit to Scotland because they have inspired so many of us by their success in getting to Euro 2024. Scottish Conservative leader Douglas Ross also wished the team and the fans good luck ahead of Friday's kick-off and added, "The Tartan Army have travelled in huge numbers to support Steve Clarke and the team, and I know we will all be cheering them on to success." Scottish Labour leader Anna Sarwar added, "Can I join others in wishing manager Steve Clarke, captain Andy Robertson, vice-captain John McGinn and the entire Men's Scotland team all the very best for the Euros, and also wish the Tartan Army a safe and enjoyable visit to Germany." Meanwhile, Scottish Liberal Democrat leader Alex Cole-Hamilton added, "This is a huge moment for Scotland. It is a massive tournament, and we have waited so long for this. It is so exciting for fans across Scotland and the hundreds of thousands making the trip to Germany. So to the team, to Steve Clarke and to the whole Tartan Army, you've got this. Make us proud. Good luck, lads." Report by Andrew Lermonth.
From Glasgow Times, Friday, 14th of June, inside the Family Fun show coming to Giffnock Theatre, an exclusive by Morgan Carmichael. A popular theatre show which promises shouts of delight for all the family is heading to a theatre near Glasgow this year, and the director could not be more excited. Dinosaur Adventure Live, Trouble on Volcano Island is the all-new immersive and interactive experience from the mind of Mike Newman, the man behind the smash hit production Exciting Science. And with new dinosaurs and fan favourites returning to the stage, the show will be more thrilling and unforgettable than ever before. But for Mike, it is coming back towards the city to perform at Eastwood Park Theatre in Giffnock that has him feeling dynamite. Speaking to the Glasgow Times, Mike said, "I have to say that around Glasgow and in Scotland there is always a great crowd. I'm really looking forward to bringing the show to Giffnock and hearing the shouts of delight from the kids and families. I think this might be our second visit to Giffnock with the dinosaur show. I'm excited." In the first show of the Dinosaur Adventure Live World, we saw the Rangers race to save the day after the computer system which controls the island malfunctioned. In the new instalment, the island's volcano has become active again and is threatening to erupt. The Rangers must race against the clock to save the dinosaurs. However, a new addition on the island proves quite a surprise to everybody, and sadly, we couldn't get Mike to reveal the bombshell. Attendees will be able to see their favourite dinosaurs, including Triceratops, the cheeky Spinosaurus, cute baby dinos, and the gigantic T-Rex.
Families and kids will even be able to get a free photo with the dinosaurs after the show. Mike said that it was his own son who was one of the biggest inspirations for the new instalment of the series. Mike said, "My son, who is 10, is a big dinosaur fan. He loves all the Jurassic Park movies. I was chatting with him when I was writing the show, and he started coming up with these ideas with huge waterfalls and this sense of jeopardy. It made me think we could include some of this in the show, and he is only 10. I think kids love the idea that this is the end, like what's going to happen to us. They all love that kind of rush, I think." Mike added, "I think too that dinosaurs are something that never grows old or out of fashion. They've already been going for 56 million years. They are certainly standing the test of time. And when people see the T-Rex in the show, they could be where those dinosaurs actually stood. It's hard to imagine that they really existed and physically walked upon the earth. The new instalment comes after a hugely successful run in 2022, where the production planned to do 20 dates around the UK, but ended up doing 70 due to demand, all of which were sold out. Though the sellout came as a surprise to Mike, so too did the fact that he is now making the series into a trilogy, which he is already working on. The forthcoming show will take place on August the 9th. That article was an exclusive by Morgan Carmichael.
Glasgow Times News on Monday the 17th of June. Council staff to vote on strikes. An article written by Rosie Lewis. Council staff across Scotland have rejected a new pay offer, with a vote now set to open on potential strike action, a union has said. Unison Scotland balloted members on the offer from local authority body COSLA, but it said 91% of respondents rejected the 2.2% uplift, which would have increased by a further 2% after 6 months. The union said over the coming weeks, its members, including cleansing workers and school staff, will now be consulted on walkouts. Colette Hunter, chairwoman of the local government committee at the union, said, "This result must be a wake-up call for COSLA that council workers need to be rewarded fairly for the essential services that they provide. Staff have experienced years of cuts to their pay levels, and a reversal has to begin. The last thing anyone wants to do is to go on strike, but local government workers deserve a fair increase to stop their pay lagging further behind inflation and the wage increases being given in other sectors of the economy. Workers have seen the value of their pay fall over the past 10 years, often while being asked to do even more. They provide vital services to their communities by caring for the most vulnerable, educating children, waste and recycling, and keeping people safe. Council workers deserve better." COSLA has been contacted for comment. An article written by Rosie Lewis. Glasgow Times News on Monday the 17th of June. Deadline looms to register to vote in the 2024 general election. An article written by Nicole Mitchell. Voters are being urged to check that they are election ready as the deadline looms to register to vote. Anyone wanting to vote in the UK general election on Thursday, July the 4th, must be registered to vote before the deadline at midnight on Tuesday, June the 18th. Voters can vote in person, by post, or by appointing someone they trust to vote in their place by proxy vote. The deadline to register for a postal vote is 5 p.m. on Wednesday, June the 19th, while the deadline to apply for a proxy vote is 5 p.m. on Wednesday, June the 26th. For the first time in a UK general election, voters need to show photo ID at the polling station. Accepted forms of photo ID include a passport, a driving licence, an older or disabled person's bus pass, and a Young Scot card. If you do not have one of the accepted types of ID, you can apply for a voter authority certificate on the government website or by completing and submitting a form to your local electoral registration office. You must apply for a certificate by 5 p.m. on Wednesday, June the 26th. Suzanne Miller, Glasgow's returning officer, said, Don't lose your chance to have your say at the general election. If you're in doubt about whether you need to register to vote, or have questions about how to apply for a postal vote or a proxy vote, or about free ID, you can find out more by visiting www.glasgow.gov.uk/register to vote. Andy O'Neill, the head of the Electoral Commission in Scotland, added, "It's important that people check that they're election ready ahead of the upcoming deadlines. All voters must be registered, and some may need to apply for a postal or proxy vote or a free ID. Registering to vote is quick and easy, and this can be done online. Voters will need to show photo ID at polling places for this UK general election. Anyone who does not have one of the accepted forms of photo ID can apply for free ID online or by completing a paper form and submitting it to their local electoral registration office." An article written by Nicole Mitchell. Glasgow Times News on Monday the 17th of June. Free Glasgow Tool Library available for more residents. An article written by Esther Tarnay. A new partnership will allow Glaswegians to borrow DIY gardening tools and more for free. Fuse Youth Cafe will partner with Glasgow Tool Library to bring the service to Shettleston residents. The scheme is part of Sharing Shettleston, a National Lottery-funded project to support the community through the cost of living crisis, and it aims to lower the cost of services as well as to introduce opportunities to learn new money-saving skills. The launch comes as communities across the UK mark Great Big Green Week, celebrating community action to tackle climate change. Fuse Families Project coordinator Pauline Kirby said, "Our project with Glasgow Tool Library was based on an idea for having a library of things. It costs a lot of money to buy a tool that you might only use once a year, and it takes up a lot of space too. Having a partnership with Glasgow Tool Library seemed like a great option. They have the expertise, we have the staffing and the funding, and we have people who haven't had access to this service before." Glasgow Tool Library is based on Garscube Road in Maryhill. Shettleston residents previously faced a long journey across the city to carry heavy tools. Now they will be able to access them locally. The partnership will launch at an event on Tuesday, and the library itself will open to the public every Thursday between noon and 2 p.m, starting on June the 27th. Andy Lum, who's 34, lives in Maryhill and is a regular user of the Glasgow Tool Library. He said, "I signed up a year ago and we've used it regularly for bits and bobs of DIY at home. We live in a tenement flat and we've not got the space or the money to buy lots of tools." Mr. Lum's latest loan was an angle grinder to do up his van. He added, "If we'd bought the tools we needed for the van, it would have cost us around £300, and that would have been the cheapest that we could find. If we'd wanted to buy good quality tools, it would have cost us thousands. I think it's just a really good thing that Glasgow Tool Library is here." An article written by Esther Tarnay. Glasgow Times News on Monday the 17th of June. Leisure attraction in Glasgow to start charging an entry fee. An article written by Rebecca Newlands. A family leisure attraction in Glasgow will start charging visitors an entry fee. The tall ship Glenlee is a cemented part of the city's tourist industry and is popular with locals and travellers alike. Built in 1896, the former merchant sailing ship is the only vessel of its kind still afloat on the River Clyde and serves as a museum celebrating the city's unique maritime heritage. But amid rising costs and struggles to keep the attraction running, bosses have now decided to reintroduce an entry fee for visitors for the first time since 2012. As of the 1st of July 2024, admissions will be priced at £4.50 for adults and £2.70 for children and £12.70 for a family of 4. There will be concessions for students and pensioners, and entry is still free for those under 5. The funds will be used to fill a financial gap cover the ship's running costs, deliver the best possible experience, and allow the independent charity to be more self-sufficient and better plan for the future. The charge will be introduced alongside a new booking system, which will allow visitors to buy tickets online in advance at thetallship.com. Fiona Greer, Development Director at the Tall Ship Glenlee, said, "As an independent charity, we are facing a similar situation to many other historic vessels and museum attractions across the UK, who have expressed shared challenges. We know that the Tall Ship Glenlee holds a very special place in many people's hearts, both here in Glasgow and around the world, and we now need the public support to ensure that we can continue to thrive. The ship is an icon of change that has adapted to survive over 127 years and is now embarking on its next chapter and a more certain and hopeful future. We are incredibly grateful for all the critical support we receive from current funders and supporters. However, there is a significant gap that needs to be filled. We have looked to fix the admissions fees at a level far below the UK average museum attraction entry charge to ensure that the ship continues to attract and be accessible to as large and diverse an audience as possible, while fairly reflecting the unique quality experience of exploring an iconic ship like the Glenlee. It comes as the team is preparing to launch a new immersive visitor experience for visitors to the Tall Ship Glenlee. Funded by Museums Gallery Scotland, this includes 3 distinct soundscapes which transport visitors through the chapters of the vessel's history, from a brewing storm in the cargo hold to the rumble of the diesel engines, and a smell interpretation which aims to bring the realities of being at sea to life. An article written by Rebecca Newlands. Glasgow Times, on Monday the 17th of June. Lifestyle. The UK passport is named as one of the worst in Europe for value for money. An article written by Joshua Searle. UK passports have been ranked as one of the worst in Europe when it comes to value for money. Our passports have gone head-to-head with other countries, and following a 7% price increase in April, it has lost value for money, new research has revealed. The research ranked 131 passports across the globe to form the latest Passport Value Index. The research, carried out by digital PR agency Tank, combined data from the Henley Passport Index with the passport price and years of validity to create the table. It revealed that the UK has dropped 4 places, from 31st to 35th place, after the price of the passport increased from £82.50 to £88.50. Valid for 10 years, British people can visit 192 visa-free countries with their passport at a cost of £8.85 per year, 2.68% of an average monthly salary. However, it has proved one of the priciest passports across Europe, with Spain charging £25.80 for a 10-year passport. That's £62.70 less than the UK, with access to 194 countries. The prices of passports in different countries with the same year's validity are lower than the UK. Germany charges £60.21 with access to 194 countries. A French passport sets citizens back £73.97 with access to 194 countries, and it would cost you £64.51 for an Irish passport with access to 193 countries. These countries offer 1 or 2 more visa-free countries to holiday in, and the lower price point means they offer more value for money when compared to the UK passport. Out of the 131 visa-free countries, the United Arab Emirates offers the best value for its passport. The 10-year passport is a bargain at £10.82, where citizens from places such as Dubai or Abu Dhabi can holiday in 184 countries. Maxine Macready, personal finance expert at UK Debt Expert, said, "With over half of British people planning a foreign holiday this year, passport applications will be a top priority, and many may be left surprised at the price. Households are already battling the rising cost of living, and the cost of passports plus the 10% increase in holiday prices could put a stop to travel plans." The UK passport has become one of the priciest in Europe, especially compared to countries like Spain, which offers better access to countries for £62.70 less. An article written by Joshua Searle. Glasgow Times News on Monday the 17th of June. More than half of A&E units are forced to treat patients in corridors, a study finds. An article written by Neil Pooran. Overcrowding in Scotland's emergency departments has led to more than half treating patients in hospital corridors, research has found. The Royal College of Emergency Medicine analysed data to capture a snapshot of an average Monday night in A&E units during 4 weeks in March and April. With 21 out of 29 Scottish departments providing information to the survey, 14 reported that patients were being treated in corridors. Of the 826 patients in attendance across the 21 emergency departments, 12.8% were being treated on trolleys in the corridor. This amounted to 106 people. Only one emergency department had any free cubicles at the time. The average cubicle occupancy was 182%, and the maximum for any one department was 258%. The Royal College said the problem of overcrowding is present across the UK. Dr John Paul Lochry, its Vice President for Scotland, said, "The image of more than 100 people, 100 grandparents, parents, children and friends receiving treatment on trolleys in corridors across Scotland is truly heartbreaking. But these findings are unfortunately not surprising for anyone who has worked in or visited an A&E in Scotland in the last few years. Studies like this are one of the few ways that we can try to show the true scale of the issue to the public and those with the power to change the devastating reality. The reality of coming to work and treating people, many elderly and vulnerable, in inappropriate conditions such as in corridors. It's undignified and unsafe, and it needs to change." Dr Adrian Boyle, President of the Royal College, added, "The effects of overcrowding, including queues of ambulances outside hospital and people being treated on trolleys due to a lack of space, is not just an issue in Scotland, it's happening all over the UK. It's caused by an inability to discharge people who are ready to go home, as there aren't appropriate social care options in place to do so safely. We will keep saying it until those in power do what they need to do to fix it. We need more staffed beds, improved staff retention and improved social care provisions so that we can safely discharge people and therefore reduce dangerously long A&E wait times that are currently being endured. We will not stop calling for this change until it is made." A Scottish Government spokesperson said, "Our health services continue to face sustained pressure, and this is not unique to Scotland, with similar challenges being felt right across the UK. To help address this, the 2024-2025 Scottish budget provides over £19.5 billion for health and social care. Although challenges and difficult decisions remain, this has given our NHS a real terms uplift in the face of an extremely difficult financial landscape. Through our urgent and unscheduled care collaborative programme, Scotland's health boards are taking action to improve patient flow and reduce delays. In addition, the Health and Care Staffing Act, which came into effect in April, was introduced to help ensure appropriate staffing levels are in place across all health and care settings." An article written by Neil Pooran. Glasgow Times News on Monday the 17th of June. Motherwell girl takes part in a 5k race after brain surgery. An article written by Nicole Mitchell. An inspirational 9-year-old who had brain surgery 3 times has taken part in a 5k event to raise money for cancer research. Cara McInally was chosen as the VIP starter to sound the horn at Cancer Research UK's Race for Life Pretty Muddy children's event in Strathclyde Park last Saturday. She also took part in the mud-splattered 5k obstacle course as captain of her team Sassy Squad, a group of her friends from Ladywell Primary School, who supported her after she was diagnosed with a brain tumour. Together with Cara's cousin, Lola McGranachan, who's also 9, they raised more than £1,720 by wriggling through scramble nets, bouncing on space hoppers and crawling through a mud pit. It was a proud moment for Cara's mum and dad, Laura and Kevin, as well as for her sister Chloe, who's 3. The event marked a year of Cara being in remission from cancer. Laura said, "We're super proud to see Cara cross the finish line with her friends and inspire those who are facing cancer today." 2 years ago, Cara was undergoing chemotherapy. She had also just developed shingles. She was very unwell and in a lot of pain. Even walking long distances was exhausting, and she relied on a wheelchair. Cara has come so far since then. She has rebuilt her body and her endurance. Cara's strength, resilience and love for life kept us going. And Cara's friends helped her so much. It's lovely that they're here today by her side at Pretty Muddy Kids. Cara first became ill just before Christmas 2021, and she was taken to the optician for an eye test after suffering mild but frequent headaches. She was immediately referred to University Hospital Hare Myers in East Kilbride after the optician noticed that Cara's optic nerve was swollen. After scans confirmed a growth behind her skull, Cara was transferred to the Royal Hospital for Children in Glasgow and had her first surgery just 4 days later to remove a 4-centimetre tumour from her brain. Cara recovered well from the surgery, but on January the 10th, 2022, doctors confirmed the tumour was cancer. She was diagnosed with a grade 3 anaplastic ependymoma tumour, and in February, Cara travelled to Manchester for 7 weeks of proton beam therapy at the NHS Centre at the Christie. The treatment was followed by 4 months of chemotherapy in Glasgow, but in November 2022, tests showed that the tumour had grown back, and Cara faced brain surgery for a second time. The operation was a success, but in spring 2023, Cara endured a third surgery as it was suspected that the tumour had returned. Thankfully, biopsy tests showed that there was only scar tissue, and in June 2023, Cara was declared cancer-free. More than £325,000 in total was raised for Cancer Research UK at the Pretty Muddy event, which 3,100 people took part in, with the adults event taking place in the afternoon. The vital funds raised will enable scientists to find new ways to prevent, diagnose and treat cancer, helping to save more lives. Lisa Adams, Cancer Research UK's spokesperson in Scotland, said, "We are incredibly grateful to everyone who took part in Pretty Muddy Glasgow. No matter how cancer affects us, life is worth racing for. Sadly, nearly 1 in 2 of us will get cancer in our lifetime. Race for Life has the power not only to transform lives, but to save them. We're proud that Race for Life has already helped double survival rates in the UK. Life-saving research already helps people living with cancer every single day. It's thanks to our supporters who fundraise that we can go further to discover new ways to beat the disease and create a future where everyone can live longer, better lives, free from the fear of cancer. Funds raised, whether it's £10 or £100, will help scientists find new ways to prevent, diagnose and treat cancer, helping save more lives." An article written by Nicole Mitchell. Glasgow Times News on Monday the 17th of June. Young people urged to make positive choices this summer. An article written by Esther Tarnay. A summer campaign was launched urging young people to stay safe this summer. The scheme by Fearless, the youth service of Crime Stoppers, was launched by Minister for Victims and Community Safety Siobhan Brown at the St Enoch Shopping Centre. Funded by Network Rail Scotland, the campaign will focus on key topics like pro-social behaviour, violence prevention and the importance of speaking up to make communities safer. Together with partners, the youth service kicked off the event with one of several Fearless summer sessions planned to be held over the summer holidays in locations across the country. The charity hopes that by engaging with young people on social media platforms and in their local communities, it'll ensure that as many young people as possible are empowered. Lindsay McDade, Fearless Scotland manager at Crime Stoppers, said, "With the summer holidays just around the corner, I'm delighted to be launching our summer campaign today with support from our partners and the Minister for Victims and Community Safety, Siobhan Brown. The summer holidays can be a challenging time for some young people without the structure and safety of school, so it's vital that they're aware of key ways to keep themselves and their friends safe and making positive choices. We hope all young people in Scotland have a happy, safe summer. Remember, if you know information about crime, you can speak up at fearless.org, 100% anonymously, 24/7, 365 days a year." Siobhan Brown said, "I welcome the launch of the Fearless Summer Campaign. We want all young people to enjoy their summer break responsibly so that they can have fun while keeping themselves, their friends and their communities safe. It's vital that young people know that if they see any behaviour that concerns them, they can report it anonymously through Fearless, either online at fearless.org or by calling 0800 555 111. Our partnership with Fearless will provide young people with the knowledge they need, as well as a platform to report crime 100% anonymously." An article written by Esther Tarnay.
From the Glasgow Times, Tuesday the 18th of June, from the news section, Greens, super tax for private jet users. This article is unattributed. The Scottish Greens are set to propose a super tax in their general election manifesto. The document, due to be released this week, will put forward plans to introduce a £1,000 per head private jet tax in a bid to reduce the number of private flights, as well as removing tax breaks on aviation fuel and phasing out short-haul flights. Scottish Greens co-leader Lorna Slater said, "We are in a climate emergency with the evidence all around us. It is obscene that a small number of very wealthy people are jetting around the globe in climate-wrecking private jets. There is absolutely no justification for something so needless and destructive, not when the stakes are so high and the consequences are so severe. By introducing a super tax on these flights, we can cut the number of jets in our sky and ensure that those who are polluting our planet are paying for the damage they are doing." And the article is unattributed. From the Glasgow Times, Tuesday the 18th of June, from the news section, Hunt for driver after road crash. This article is unattributed. Cops are hunting for a driver after a Renault Clio was left badly damaged on a busy Glasgow road. Officers said they were called to a one-car smash on Edinburgh Road in the East End shortly after 7:30 p.m. on Sunday. Emergency crews raced to the scene. However, on arrival, they said the motorist had left the scene. Following the incident, a hunt has been launched to track down the driver. In pictures shared with the Glasgow Times, part of the road could be seen being blocked off by police vans as well as being taped off. Meanwhile, a blue motor was pictured severely damaged on the road. A spokesperson for Police Scotland said, "We received a report of a one-car crash on Edinburgh Road in Glasgow around 7:40 p.m. on Sunday, June 16th, 2024. The driver of the car left the scene prior to police arrival, and inquiries are ongoing to trace them." And that article was unattributed. From the Glasgow Times, Tuesday the 18th of June, from the news section, Lib Dems will be real opposition to new government. Article by Morgan Carmichael. The Scottish Liberal Democrats have pledged to boost carers' wages as the party's general election manifesto launched yesterday. Party leader Alex Cole-Hamilton was joined by Deputy Leader Wendy Chamberlain as they launched the manifesto at Craigie's Farm in Queensferry. The document included plans to introduce a carer's minimum wage with a £2 an hour boost, as well as fast-tracking access to mental health counsellors in schools. The party also said that an additional £1 billion in capital funding would come to Scotland through Barnett Consequentials, which could be used to tackle the housing emergency and local health facilities across the country. Speaking at the farm, Mr Cole Hamilton said his party would make the difference and be the real opposition to a potential Labour government. He added that the Liberal Democrats are aiming to leap forward on the July the 4th election. He said, "There's going to be strong Liberal voices returned in significant numbers, and we're going to have a big leap forward at this election and are going to make that difference. This election has shown there is an intrinsic link between what happens at Westminster and what happens in Scotland, and a lot of the policies that we're generating cash from, whether that's by trebling the digital services tax on social media giants who create so much harm, experienced by our young people right now. We want to see that earmarked for mental health services in Scotland." Meanwhile, Ms Chamberlain said the Conservatives were entering into a period of irrelevance, meaning the Liberal Democrats would need to step up and hold a potential Labour government to account. She said, "Where is the opposition, the holding to account, going to come from? It's going to come from the Liberal Democrats on issues such as two-child limit, which Labour has said they are not willing to remove. It is fully costed in our manifesto, and this will be the opportunity for us to make those kinds of arguments. I can assure you we will be taking those opportunities when they come." And that report was by Morgan Carmichael. From the Glasgow Times, Tuesday the 18th of June, from the news section, single-use cup recycling scheme hailed a huge success. This article is unattributed. Keep Scotland Beautiful's campaign to encourage proper recycling of single-use cups has been branded a success in Glasgow. The Take It Back initiative was launched last July in collaboration with the National Cup Recycling Scheme and Starbucks. It encourages users of single-use takeaway cups to return them for proper recycling at one of 121 participating stores across the two cities. Figures were encouraging, with retailers such as Caffè Nero, Costa, Greggs, McDonald's, Pret A Manger and Starbucks joining hands with Glasgow and Dundee City Councils to demonstrate how easy it is. The campaign reached an audience well beyond the involved retailers as well, with bin and window stickers in stores, as well as online adverts and messages at Glasgow Queen Street Station and on the subway, increasing the awareness by 26%. Results were notable too, with single-use cup numbers dropping by 12% in participating retail stores and by 6% in general bins. Paul Wallace, Campaigns and Social Innovation Manager at Keep Scotland Beautiful, emphasised the goal of the campaign. "We want people to enjoy hot drinks on the go. Take It Back helps support people to do the right thing, returning their single-use takeaway cups in stores for recycling, therefore reducing the number of single-use cups discarded inappropriately in Scotland." And the article was unattributed. From the Glasgow Times, Tuesday the 18th of June, from the news section, SNP reveals social tariff proposal. This article is unattributed. First Minister John Swinney has said the SNP will include a social tariff on energy, broadband and mobile bills in its manifesto this week. The proposal will see those on low incomes, with disabilities and the elderly pay less on their bills, with the party suggesting they be cut in half. Mr Swinney unveiled the plan yesterday ahead of the SNP manifesto being published tomorrow. The proposal would be funded by a mixture of general taxation and an obligation from profits of energy companies, with the party claiming the cost would be about £7.8 billion for the present year. The First Minister said his party want to update entitlements for the 21st century. He said, "This community is wrestling with some of the highest levels of fuel poverty in our country, and it is literally unbearable for people. Despite the fact that this community is producing vast amounts of renewable energy. At the heart of our manifesto will be that commitment that we will argue for a social tariff funded by general taxation and by the power companies, which will reduce the costs for those who are vulnerable in our society and give them a material contribution to reducing the cost of living. Today, none of us can really operate without connectivity, access to broadband, access to telecoms, so many public services are delivered by that mechanism as well. We are going to propose that the social tariff extends also to broadband and telecoms costs so that people are liberated of the excessive burden and they're able to access public services and their wider communication in society because they've got a tariff that is appropriate for meeting their circumstances. Andrew Bartlett, Chief Executive of Advice Direct Scotland, welcomed the commitment. He said, "It is encouraging to see the need for a social energy tariff moving up the political agenda with just over 2 weeks until voters go to the polls." He continued, "We believe it is the best way of fixing the UK's broken energy market. In the wake of a winter which has once again seen millions of people struggling to afford to heat their homes, it is time for concrete action." And that article was unattributed. From the Glasgow Times, Tuesday the 18th of June, from the news section. Woman jailed after starting fire at flats. Report by James Mulholland. A woman who placed the lives of 2 people in danger after starting a fire at a block of new flats has been jailed for 2 years. Kelly Marie MacDonald, 38, claimed she started the blaze in order to get her niece out of the flat that she lived in nearby. The High Court heard how she was captured on a Ring doorbell camera dragging a mattress across the front door of one of the homes before setting it alight. She then piled a bag of rubbish and a doormat on top of the blaze. The 2 householders who lived in the flat had their lives placed in danger. The blaze quickly took hold, forcing the couple inside to escape to their balcony. MacDonald then stood outside filming the fire crews racing to the scene in Millerston Drive, Paisley, on February the 27th, 2022. The tenants living at the block were luckily rescued and police officers obtained the footage from the Ring camera which showed MacDonald's actions. Yesterday, MacDonald, of Foxbar, appeared for sentencing on a charge of willful fire raising and placing the lives of residents in danger. Passing sentence, Lord Harrower told MacDonald that she had to go to prison for what she did. He added, "In order to punish you and to deter you and others from a similar kind of offending, there is no other sentence to custody to deal with you." MacDonald stood trial at the High Court in Glasgow earlier this year, charged with attempting to murder the couple. The court heard claims she had deliberately targeted the householders after noise complaints were allegedly made about MacDonald's teenage niece, who lived across the landing. The mum denied the murder bid, claiming she had been told by her relative no one else lived in the block at the time. Jurors convicted MacDonald on the reduced charge of willful fire raising to the danger of those in the block. Jurors were shown the Ring doorbell footage of pulling the large mattress across the door and initially trying to torch it with a cigarette from her mouth. There was then a clicking of what sounded like a lighter before flames and smoke quickly emerged. The court heard how the couple who lived there soon became aware of the potentially catastrophic blaze and escaped to their veranda. The fire brigade arrived, but only after they battled through thick smoke, having initially been unable to see inside the close. MacDonald gave evidence and told how she had gone to visit her niece for the first time at the new build flats. She said her relative was crying, upset, and wanted MacDonald to look after her, following an incident at a party. The woman drank alcohol during several hours at the flat. MacDonald said she had no recollection of the fire, and her next memory was being in a police cell. Jurors acquitted her on the attempted murder charge, but convicted her on the lesser charge. And that report was written by James Mulholland.
This is from the Glasgow Times on the 19th of June 2024 from the news section, and the headline reads, "Fly tippers dumping all sorts in the middle of Paisley Road." This article is by Craig Ross. Fly tipping has been plaguing several streets of Paisley, with culprits even dumping items in the middle of the road. Tannahill Road in the Fergusley Park area has been littered with everything from sofas and carpets to beds and three-piece suites. Tommy Eggerty, who lived on the street for 19 years and has since moved round the corner, said, "The council is taking nothing to do with it. It's been going on for ages. They've done nothing. They need to get their finger out. If it was happening where they stayed, they wouldn't put up with it. It's ridiculous because it's going to be full of rats, that's for certain." Asked what he wants to see done, the 75-year-old said, "Just catch some of them. I think they should have a warden here, even during the day, because they're tipping during the day, not just at night." Tommy also told us that he thinks people have been coming from all over to dump their all sorts on the street. He also revealed the bus was unable to drive its usual route last week, as litter was dumped in the middle of the road and carpets were all over the place. Items were eventually pushed to the side. The deserted housing estate will begin to be demolished next month after the council approved a £630,000 contract last Thursday. Demolition firm Caskey will bulldoze 51 blocks of empty council houses in a project that is expected to last a year. However, one private homeowner remains, and the council revealed negotiations to voluntarily acquire the property are ongoing. Tommy added, "It could turn out a nice place. I don't know if they're going to build on it. I don't know what their aim is." The demolition will encompass vacant properties in Fergusley Park Avenue, Drums Avenue, Tannahill Road and Tannahill Terrace, in a move that has sparked relief within the community. Terry McTiernan, Chair of Fergusley Community Council, said, "We're delighted that this has eventually gone through. As I've said before, if it was up to us, we would have it demolished tomorrow, but we appreciate there are processes that need to be followed. I do need to compliment the council on their increased and regular communication with us over recent months, particularly in regards to fly tipping. The fly tipping, it needs to be said though, is getting worse again. The buses couldn't even get through recently because of the fly tipping. I understand there are efforts being made to try and reroute the bus route for obvious reasons anyway, but until that's done, the bus still needs to get through. We're advised they should be on site in mid-July, commencing demolition, so we really look forward to that. It's the final spot on Fergusley's face, if you like, being removed. The Community Council is looking forward to the continued engagement with the Council about the future use of that land for community purposes. Work is expected to begin on July 15th, however final confirmation of this will be set out in the Council's letter of acceptance to the contractor, Caskey. The separate process of disconnecting electric and gas supplies is already underway in the estate ahead of the demolition. The derelict housing estate has also been a magnet for antisocial behaviour, with the local authority recently confirming that there had been 16 fires in the area as of late. Councillor Graham Clark, Labour representative for Paisley North East and Ralston, said at a recent board meeting, "I'm really pleased to see this contract given the number of fires, which have been quite serious fires, in that location, and the amount of fly tipping. I don't know if you've seen recently within a day the amount of fly tipping which has occurred in this area, so I'm really pleased to see this contract. I think it's well overdue, is now taking place." Councillor John Shaw, board convener and SNP representative for Renfrew North and Braehead, added, "I'm sure we're all pleased to see it finally coming to fruition." A Renfrewshire Council spokesperson said, "We are aware of local concerns about fly tipping at the Tannahill regeneration area. Officers have been in regular contact with local representatives and residents to listen to their concerns and keep them updated on the actions we're taking to address these issues. Council officers have implemented a number of measures to address the issues, including regular visits to investigate and clear fly tipping and debris. The access road to the site will soon be closed off to help stop illegal dumping, and suitable surveillance measures will shortly be in place to help identify and fine those responsible. We are also collaborating with our partners in the Scottish Fire and Rescue Service and Police Scotland to consider any additional measures which may be required. Officers check the properties within this area regularly, and this will continue until the area is handed over to the appointed demolition contractor in the coming weeks. This article is by Craig Ross. This is from the Glasgow Times on the 19th of June 2024 from the news section, and the headline reads, Hunt for two masked youths after hit and run in Glasgow. This article is by Ben Waddle. A hunt has been launched for two masked youths after a reckless hit and run in Glasgow. The incident took place on Glenkirk Drive in the city's Drumchapel around 4:30 p.m. on Monday, June 17th. During the crash, police say a 76-year-old man was struck by a small electric motorbike which was being ridden by two boys wearing balaclavas. 999 crews rushed to the scene. Following that, the pensioner was checked over by paramedics. Now, cops are appealing for information on the reckless incident. Constable John O'Hara from Road Policing said, This reckless incident took place in broad daylight in a residential area, and we are appealing to anyone who saw what happened to come forward. We would be particularly keen to hear from anyone with private CCTV or dashcam footage of the surrounding area, as this could be crucial to our investigation. Anyone with information is asked to contact Police Scotland on 101, quoting incident number 2426 of Monday, June 17th, 2024. This article is by Ben Waddle. This is from the Glasgow Times on the 19th of June 2024 from the news section, and the headline reads, Scotland fan tragically died during his sleep in Germany. This article is by Ben Waddle. A Scotland fan has tragically died during his trip to Germany for the Euros. Colin King sadly passed away in his sleep on Sunday, June 16th, in Dusseldorf. The man, who is understood to be from Blantyre in South Lanarkshire, was in the city after attending the Scotland v Germany match on Friday, June 14th. Revealing his death, the Tartan Army group said they were saddened to learn of the news. In a social media post, the supporters group said his family had asked if fellow supporters could honour him with a 1-minute cheer/applause on the 4th minute of the Scotland v Switzerland game tonight. The Tartan Army said, We're saddened to learn of the death of Colin King. Colin was a massive Scotland supporter, and he sadly passed away in his sleep on Sunday night when in Dusseldorf for the game against Germany. Colin's family have asked if the Tartan Army could honour him with a 1-minute cheer/applause on the 4th minute at the Scotland v Switzerland game tomorrow night. The family would appreciate this so much at this difficult time. Rip Colin. Following the tragic news, pals have paid tribute to much-loved footy fan on social media. One said, Devastating news, Rip Colin King, a true diamond. A second added, Rest in peace Colin King, thoughts and prayers are with all the family. Another said, My thoughts and prayers go to the family, cracking guy with a big heart. Rest in peace Colin. Meanwhile, a fourth said, Colin was one of the kindest and best. He will be missed by so many people. A spokesperson for the Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office said, We are in contact with the local authorities following the death of a British national in Dusseldorf. This article was by Ben Waddle. This is from the Glasgow Times on the 19th of June 2024 from the news section, and the headline reads, Scottish Green Manifesto to propose abolishment of monarchy. This article is by Morgan Carmichael. The Scottish Greens have revealed that its manifesto will propose to abolish the monarchy. Patrick Harvie, co-leader of the party, has said they will set out plans for a written constitution and a republic which can elect and remove heads of states. The manifesto will be released on Thursday. Patrick said, The monarchy is a badly outdated and fundamentally undemocratic institution. It represents a different era and feels increasingly irrelevant and ridiculous in the 21st century. Yet, in a matter of weeks, the full pomp and pageantry of monarchy will be on display when the King does the state opening of a new government. We should be able to challenge power and elect or remove our head of state through the ballot box, like most countries do. He went on to demand a written constitution, which would be used to avoid the kind of power grabs and stunts we have seen from Westminster. The Scottish Greens are the only party that is calling for an independent Scottish Republic, where power lies with the people rather than being banded down like a family heirloom. This article was by Morgan Carmichael. This is from the Glasgow Times on the 19th of June 2024 from the news section, and the headline reads, "Woman tried to get friend to pay 15k or throat would be slit." This article is by Tristan Stewart Robertson. A woman tried to get a supposed friend to give her £15,000 within 30 minutes or his throat would be slit. Elspeth, Glasgow, and an unknown man made the threats to a man in Clydebank's Dundalk in an attempt to extort money from him. At Dumbarton Sheriff Court on June 12th, the 43-year-old pleaded guilty to attempted extortion by menacing the man and putting him in a state of fear and alarm and apprehension of his safety. Fiscal Deputy Dana Barclay said Glasgow, listed in court papers as a resident of Balloch, had become friends with the man in September 2019, and he offered to provide financial assistance to her. But he began to feel the demands for funding were too frequent. Then, on October 25th, 2020, the victim received a call from Glasgow which he ignored. There was a voicemail from an unknown male stating if the man didn't pay £15,000, he would go to his home, take his car, and threats to stab him and slit his throat. There was a further call saying he had 30 minutes to pay the money, and a voicemail from her with the male voice saying he would put a bullet in his head. Ms. Barclay said there was also a number of WhatsApp messages that if he didn't send money to the unknown male, he would be harmed. The victim was so alarmed he went to the Clydebank police office and reported the matter. Glasgow was contacted and attended at the police office. She confirmed she had received a financial amount from the man. She said she was going through a tough time through the use of drugs and alcohol. Defence solicitor Kenny McGowan said his client had no previous conviction and that she had been in a residential rehab facility. Sheriff Paul Reid said it was a serious offence and that he needed a report from social workers on alternatives to custody and given the period of time since the office. Glasgow will be sentenced on July 9th. This article is by Tristan Stewart Robertson.
That concludes this week's edition of the Glasgow Times Podcast. Please remember to subscribe to our channels at Tune Review and to tell your friends about our service.